Welcome to the Stick, Niner Empire podcast. Guys, I'm here with Lucas and Luke. I'm Mike Arango. We got a very special guest here today. You will know him, I'm very sure. His name is Damon Bruce. He is here from 95.7 The Game. Damon, thank you so much for being on our show today. I know you got a lot of things to do on your time, man, so let's see how we can pick your brain a little bit and see how we're looking, okay?
Absolutely. Good to be with you. As always, Lucas, good to see you. And Pat Summerall, we're reunited. It's good to be with you.
Awesome.
Thank you, Donovan.
There we go.
I used to do a regular spot on the Sports Phone 680 show with Damon Bruce as Pat Summerall. I did a little impression of Pat, and Damon liked it, so I got to be on several times. And we're going to take a moment just to take a listen to some of those calls. Just give you some of the background, some of the history between Damon and I.
Real fast to Pat Summerall. Pat, what's the bar tab tonight?
Good afternoon, Danny. How are you doing tonight?
And you know what I want before you leave.
Jerry Rice.
One more. Play all the hits.
Fine saucer at the 5.
Thank you.
Ronnie Lott would never carry a gun.
They didn't have to. They didn't have a trigger finger left. What finger did he have to cut off? His pinky?
I'm not familiar. I think they sent him back in the game after cutting off several fingers.
Pat Summerall, the only available to you on Sports Phone. Real fast to Babs in Concord.
Pat Summerall, funniest guy ever. Okay. That guy is creative.
Guy's amazing. Oh, but look who else is called. Apparently 2 fingers of scotch, and here's Pat Summerall. How are you, Pat?
Good morning, Gary. How you doing?
Does Klein Saucer score this week?
Fine saucer at the 1. Fumble. Recovered by Urlacher. And he's going the other way, Donovan.
Oh, thank you, Pat. It is always a pleasure to talk to legendary play-by-play man Pat Summerall here on Sports Phone. Seriously, that guy cracks me. I know funny, and that guy's funny. I have no idea who that guy is. That guy's funny, though. Gosh.
So, guys, we're off to a 10-game winning streak now in a row. Pressure's on. There's a couple of weaknesses I did see on our team this week. One of them is Lenoir. I'm not seeing him get much help over the top. Even when he does cover well, he tends to give up big plays at times. That's something that me personally, Damon, I'm super iffy on. I'm not seeing Hufunga helping him out. I'm not seeing Gibson helping him out. I think part of the reason also is Hufunga tends to bite a little early at times. I think this is one of our biggest weaknesses. How are you feeling about that so far?
D'Amico Ryans just like a couple press conferences ago was talking about eye level and guys having their eyes on the right target and the right keys and the right reads. And I think he got back to fundamentals by just saying, he pulled one out of the Bill Belichick playbook saying, do your job. There has been talk about Deommodore Lenoir. Quarterbacks and offensive coordinators are picking on him. But that doesn't mean that he's bad. I mean, to me, there's a lot of guys in this league who would be the worst, or let's just call it the weak link on a defense this good. There's nothing wrong with Lenoir. Somebody had to be the attack point, and it's him. And by process of elimination, that's the right choices for the opposition to be making. I mean, I think that there is cause for concern there. How they deploy, Mooney Ward against the Seahawks will be interesting. Is he going to be following anyone, or are they just going to split that field and, you're covering one guy and you're on that side and I'm on this side, and that's the way we're going to play it just straight up? Or, will he actually be shadowing a specific wide receiver if he starts going off at any point in time? Every defense has to have a weak point in it, and it's the job of the opposing offensive coordinator, head coach, and quarterback to exploit it. But it's not that much of a cause concern against Seattle. It really isn't for me. I'm just not that worried. I mean, I give the Niners a legit 85% chance to win this game.
That's our biggest issue right now, though, really.
It is, but I mean, there had to be one, right? There's no such thing as ridiculous defense. I mean, no one's perfect in this league, and I've been saying this on the show the past 2 days because I know it's been coming up, and we've gotten a few calls about them. do you realize how good you have to be the worst defender on the 49ers? Like, seriously.
Yeah.
And he, like, I agree with you, Mike. He's not like, it's not like he's always out of position.
Yeah, no, he's on his dudes. He's not.
He's not getting skinned alive and left out there like burnt
not
toast.
physical enough.
He's the number 9 hitter on the 27 Yankees. He's a great player. He's just on a really good team.
Here's my question, though. Wouldn't he be better served like in the slot and then maybe putting Jimmy Ward, who's a better player, on the outside?
It's almost like he's Tyrone Drakeford. I mean,
Ward is great at the slot. Ward is great at the slot, but I think that's the big problem too. Lenore's playing second corner.
I think slots are more like safeties than they are like corners almost, and that's why Ward fits there so well.
Yeah. I'm mostly going to be doing the slots.
Yeah, I'm hoping to do some sluts too. Yeah. Do they have a lot of sluts in Las Vegas?
Oh, there's so many slots you won't know where to begin.
Slots are more like safeties than they are like corners almost, and that's why Ward fits there so well. Yeah. I think asking Ward to play out of position, against Tyler Lockett is I'll take my chances with Diamador Lenore and just leave Ward where. And again, look how good Ward has been.
No, he's been great there since he covers the tight ends a lot, things like that. No, he's been great there.
Do you want to rob Peter to pay Paul somewhere else? I wouldn't do it. If I were D'Amico, I would just play straight up. I'm not really worried about it's tough to beat a division opponent 3 times in a year, which it is. It's hard to beat a division opponent twice in a year in the NFL. It really is. I had Peter King on today and said, how impressive is a 10-game winning streak? It's insane. In the incredibly volatile NFL that we're looking at right now, to have a 10-game winning streak is a testament to how good these guys really are. And how good they are at covering their assignments. And it's a bend, don't break defense. They're going to give up some plays. As long as those plays aren't in the red zone and in the end zone, I think they're going to be okay. So
I would say that he did a pretty good job so far, considering he's filling the shoes of Mosley, who was having a phenomenal season. Imagine if Mosley was there, how much better that secondary would be.
Well, I mean, it would go from being the best defense in football to the best defense in football. Like, either way, like, even with Diamador Lenore and his shortcomings, they still got brass knuckles for everyone. I mean, they really do. And the way that they went out and played the Seahawks this year, I know that the second game got closer up in Seattle, but they were never really threatened. I mean, they weren't threatened at all in week 2 by this team. I don't think they're going to be that threatened this time around. This game is set up for the Kyle Shanahan game plan the way he wants it. Get an early lead, run the ball, control the clock, sit on it. And that's how I think Kyle, looks to get out of this one alive. I mean, style points be damned. Just win the game.
I know that, they don't want to leave themselves exposed. But just, every now and then, because it's happening every game that he's giving up a touchdown and he's giving up multiple big plays a game. He's not the tallest, longest guy.
We've seen some really good receivers making plays over him. Period, full stop, end of story. Devontae Adams, who he got off on? Everyone. He gets off on everyone he plays against.
So good.
I think the Niners are choosing the lesser of two evils. Have Diamador Lenore a little bit out on an island where he could get exposed, or go out of your way to help him and shade him, which is opening up another part of the defense that they could then take advantage of. And I just think that D'Amico Ryans has done the math on this and decided that, Lenore Island isn't as bad as sacrificing strengths elsewhere. So what would have to happen for him to change that? Who knows? Someone starts going off. You got to roll a safety over. You got to ask Hufanga to start cheating over a little bit. But that opens up then the middle. And if you ask me, like, how could Seattle actually win this game? By hitting 4-5 big plays right down the middle of the field, and by stealing a possession somewhere on special teams. I'm telling you, a fake punt or a fake field goal is going to come from the Seahawks this week. I really believe that. I think they're going to try to steal a possession. Pete Carroll is playing with house money right now. Right now, he knows he's playing with house money. He is a double-digit underdog on the road with a playoff team that needed the Detroit Lions to put him in. So I think he's got a devil-may-care attitude coming up on Saturday, and just be ready for everything.
I think the biggest problem for both teams is the weather, because like you described the hail earlier, I mean, who knows what that can do to a ball game, especially Saturday. I looked at the report. It's actually supposed to be storming all day with high winds up to 60 miles an hour. So anything, it's tough to throw a ball.
If it's bad weather, that's advantage Seahawks. And it's not because, they play up in Seattle, so it's always raining and gray and everything up there. It's just when you're the better team, you want the best possible conditions. And the Niners are clearly the better team. Weather makes things get weird. And Seattle's best way to make this a fourth quarter game is for things to get weird. So hopefully it doesn't come back to pinch the Niners. I mean, they have done a pretty good job controlling the ball. They don't really put it on the ground. McCaffrey, he never really puts it on the ground. So, I actually think that as much as I just said that Seattle's got an advantage if the weather's bad, if the Niners want to go full run heavy, that's good for them too. That really is. It's good for them too. You're asking Brock Purdy to do less, which, less is more, I think, just given where he is in his career.
Yeah.
And the three-headed monster of McCaffrey, Mitchell, and Mason is like, that feels significant. That feels like it could really, really not just run through the Seahawks, but maybe run this team all the way into a Super Bowl. So they're set up well. They really are. I think they're set up well. Weather be damned. This is the matchup you would want. I would much rather deal with Pete Carroll's familiarity than just Aaron Rodgers catching a heater. And I know he hasn't caught many this year, but, I don't like sleeping on first round, first ballot Hall of Fame quarterbacks. And he is going to be that one day. So I think this is a good path for the 49ers. I really do.
Hey, Damon, I just wanted to say thanks again for being here. This is the Stick Niner Empire podcast. This is Damon Bruce for his third time on our show. And I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Ortiz for the next question here. Background there. But anyways, go for it, Lucas.
We're a Niner podcast. We delve deep into the players and the games coming up. So, Damon, big fan. I listen to you on 95.7 The Game all the time. Love your show. Love your no nonsense, unbiased opinion. You didn't grow up a 49er fan. You give your opinion how it is, and I love you for that. Now, we know we have the Seattle Seahawks on Saturday. I'm not worried about them. I don't think this is going to be a close game. I don't think it's going to be a game that really challenges us. I'm looking ahead, and I'm seeing the Eagles, who they pretty much dominated most of the season and kind of had some hiccups towards the end. They kind of showed just how human they were. And then you got teams like the Buccaneers with Tom Brady, the best quarterback of all time, not named Joe Montana. And I just want, what in your opinion is going to be like the easiest path to get to the Super Bowl, and what is the most difficult? Like, which teams do you think the 49ers should be looking to play after we get past Seattle? And, which teams kind of are a little more scary and are going to give us big, more of a matchup problem?
It's going to be tough going to Philadelphia for an NFC title game if that's the way it breaks out. I mean, I think we all know that. There's not a lot of explanation that is needed. Not a lot of follow-up. Going into, Philadelphia in the middle of winter to go play the team with the best record in the division and the entire conference that's an uphill climb. So we'll see what happens if the 49ers get there. And again, the Eagles are built to handle what the 49ers do best, and that's rush the passer. They do have the best offensive line in football. So that, to me, and it's the Dallas Cowboys. I think the Minnesota Vikings are a false prophet. I'm not worried about them. I'm not really worried about the rest of the NFC. To me, if the 49ers are going to trip, it's going to be over the Eagles or the Cowboys on the way to a Super Bowl where, if the Niners meet anybody but Kansas City in the Super Bowl, I like their chances. If they meet Kansas City, they probably lose the Super Bowl to Kansas City. I think that that's a pretty realistic thing to look at, just seeing what we saw, the first time around. I mean, Kansas City all day, all night, that was easy. Now, the Niners are a much better team than
McCaffrey's getting a little more comfortable, too, now. That was his first game.
What's that?
McCaffrey's getting a little more comfortable.
Without a doubt. But that wasn't Christian McCaffrey was the difference beatdown. That was a systematic beatdown of a defense that got emasculated. So that's the team I'm really worried about. Along the way to the Super Bowl, I think you got to keep an eye, obviously, on the Eagles and the Cowboys. In the Super Bowl, you got to be worried about, more than anything else, the Kansas City Chiefs. I can see them beating the Bills. I see them beating the Bengals. I see them beating, what do you tell me, an upstart Jaguars team shocks the world and makes the Super Bowl? Let that happen. I like the Niners' chances a lot should that happen. But it's, the beautiful thing is, and I know we're here to talk about what might lie in the future, nothing is in the future but the Seattle Seahawks. That is the zero-sum game of playoff football, and that's why it's awesome. Well, I think the surprising thing is that they got the first game. They got the Houston Texans Memorial time slot. I think that's Seattle's fault, not the Niners' fault.
Or maybe the Lions for being the spoilers and knocking Green Bay out. That was kind of crazy.
They're probably the Monday Night Football game if they're playing the Green Bay Packers, to be totally honest with you.
Hey, Damon, I've got a good follow-up question to that, and I kind of think I know what you're going to say, but I'm going to ask anyway. If they get to the championship and Jimmy G seems healthy, do you stick with the hot hand in Purdy, or do you actually go with the veteran for the playoff game there?
Oh, no. This is Brock Purdy's car unless he gets hurt. I mean, it's Brock Purdy
stole
time.
The car from Jimmy. I mean, Jimmy brought the car pretty far into the season. I mean,
he did, but you don't go away from the hot hand in the playoffs. If they're in the NFC title game, they've won 2 playoff games with Brock Purdy, and you don't walk away from that.
Okay.
But if you're a Niner fan, I think you got to be, going to church and lighting a candle, hoping that Jimmy will be active. Because God forbid something happened to Brock Purdy, there is nobody better equipped to step on in than Jimmy Garoppolo. I mean, that's the thing. Purdy does what Jimmy did. So you'd think it would work the other way around. It's playoff experience that has always had people riding Jimmy and not, loving him. So I don't think that there's an argument that says, well, you put him right back in the playoffs because of that playoff experience. To me, Brock Purdy has looked more comfortable running Kyle Shanahan's offense than any quarterback I've seen since Matt Ryan did it in Atlanta. I mean, it just comes so naturally to him. And I don't know if that's my naive eyes lying to me or if my experienced eyes are just telling me this guy's perfect for Shanahan's system.
He's got the confidence that he needs in the poise, and definitely Kittle's been way more involved. And yeah, I agree with you.
He's got confidence. He's got command. He's got the respect of that huddle, and he's got no bad habits. And he does not throw hospital balls to George Kittle. And he does not throw that, holy crap, I can't believe the defender dropped that level of interception. Sure, he's been picked off 4 times. One of them was a straight up bobble, 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 not on the quarterback at all. You're not coming off the hot hand. There's no way Shanahan comes off the hot hand. No way.
Got it.
Yeah, I agree. I think we see the way Shanahan's been calling the games as of late, especially in the fourth quarter. Like, he trusts that quarterback. Like, he's given him, the chance to throw the ball on 3rd and 5, 3rd and short. Like, a lot of times Jimmy wouldn't get that opportunity. He would say, hey, let's run a reverse with Debo, or let's run a screen pass. Let's play it safe. I think he trusts Purdy a lot more than he did Jimmy.
Well, I think you're right, Lucas. And basically, even if Brock Purdy is handed the exact same play and told to make the exact same reads, it feels like he's more willing to attack and go downfield, where Jimmy was just always looking to settle for something underneath that he thought was the less risky throw. I'm not saying this has turned into the, no biscuit if you don't risk it offense or anything like that. That's the opposite of what Kyle wants. But I think Kyle really trusts Brock to make the decision between the can't go broke taking a profit play or the I'm trying to make something fucking happen because here we are in a football game play. So that's one of the reasons why I think Shanahan's in love with the kid.
Good point.
I really do think that's one of the advantages we have now that we didn't have when we played the Kansas City Chiefs back in 2019. We were going in, running the ball like it felt like 90% of the time. Those two playoff games going into the Super Bowl, it was almost like we didn't want to throw that crucial interception.
But you also had Raheem Mostert, but Raheem Mostert was going for like 250. Like
he was.
Don't throw the ball if you don't have to. Like this isn't about fantasy numbers or anything. This is win the damn game. The best
against the Chiefs, he had to, and it just didn't work out. It was, Jimmy did throw that crucial interception, and it did wind up costing us the Super Bowl that year.
He did, but look, but also, they give up 21 points in like 8 minutes. That wasn't on Jimmy. It really was. Look, I am no Jimmy Garoppolo defender, fan, flag bearer. I'm not. He was a good yet eminently replaceable quarterback that the Niners were very lucky to have held on to almost by no decision of their own. Jimmy Garoppolo's shoulder surgeon has more to him, more reason that he's on the 49ers than any wish of the coach or the general manager. It was a miracle that Jimmy was around, and Jimmy played great to begin this 10-game stretch. But Brock Purdy, it's Brock time. It's, my own two eyes tell me that. I think every single one of your eyes tell you that too. It looks better, it fits better, and the score.
It may not even matter how good Brock is. This team is built on defense. We have a much better defense as the number 2 seed than we did when we were the number 1 seed in 2019. This defense is so good. Our offense may only have to score about 2 touchdowns and a field goal. That might be more than enough to win a game. We have the best player on defense in the league. Nick Bosa. And he's pretty much the guaranteed defensive player of the year. I think this guy has put the defense on his shoulders and said, just ride me. I'm gonna take you to the promised land. I'm gonna get you the Super Bowl ring. What can't this guy do, and who can stop him? Like what is his weakness in your opinion?
He's a level of game wrecker that we normally reserve for Hall of Fame bound players. He's Aaron Donald level game wrecking talent, and that's a special guy to have. He is, if he stays healthy, he's going to the Hall of Fame. I'm very comfortable saying that now. What are we, 4 years into his career? Yeah, one of those years basically lost due to injury. Yeah, I don't care that this guy's got more talent in his eyebrows than most football players will ever have. He is ridiculously good. The great ones make it look easy, and he makes it look easy. So he's special. He's all day and night long special, and he is probably the most important player on the team, more than anyone else, because that entire defense feeds off of what the attention that he commands. He's the most held player in football. Without a doubt, the most held player in football.
That's every year.
That just shows you how scared everyone is.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's our running joke, is that how much he gets held and it never gets called. It's I hope they pay attention to it a little bit more.
It's like if you're an offensive lineman, that's the deal you make. You're going to hold on to Nick Bosa on 90% of the plays if you have to, and you're just going to dare officials to call it. Like, if you got to call it, call it. I'd rather that happen than this guy decapitate my quarterback. It's the same. It's the same way, ironically, the Legion of Boom played defense. The Legion of Boom was pass interfering on every freaking play that they looked at. Cam Chancellor and Richard Sherman were grabbing and holding on to everything and just saying, we dare you to call it. What are you going to throw 35 flags today? I doubt it. Right. So we're going to give you a million different PIs to look at, and you choose the one you think is most offensive because you're not going to choose all of them. And that's what I think offensive tackles, that's the deal that they make with officials when game starts and they're lined up against Nick Bosa. They're like, if I get called for 5 holding penalties today, so be it. But I bet you're not going to call me for 20 of them. And that's how they go out and play against Nick Bosa because he's that good.
Yeah, there's probably one guy in the league that can block him, and his name is Trent Williams. And fortunately, he's on our team, so we don't have to worry about that.
There might be another guy too, and his name's Lane Johnson, and he plays for the Eagles, which again is why I get back to why they're a little scary.
Yeah,
but Nick lines up on both sides now, so
he does.
He can avoid that.
And it's nice to have Eric Armstead back too, man.
Yeah.
That guy's just
good.
He's one of those didn't appreciate him until he wasn't there players. Eric Armstead's really come into his own. Moving him inside changed the arc of his entire career.
Really compliments Bosa too. When he's back, you notice that Bosa kind of starts to eat more.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think it was the Raiders game where you saw him. It was like a goal line, 4th and inches, 4th and 1. He just like chucked one guy, took on another blocker, and made the tackle. And I'm just like, wow, that's special. That's like something, 1% of the players in the NFL can do. Like he's that talented of a guy, and it's so good to just to have him there next to Bosa.
How did we give up 500 yards in the Raiders game? Do you think they went out and partied in Vegas the night before? And
it's possible.
Unbelievable.
I think anytime we play a running QB, it's given us issues throughout the years. Anytime we play any QB that can run. And I think he just kind of caught us a little off guard too.
Yeah, that's why the Eagles are scary, because they have one of the best running quarterbacks in the league. Jalen Hurts could easily put.
That's my biggest fear with the Eagles.
Yeah, I was talking about the San Francisco Giants, who used to get beat by either, I used to say, elite or unfamiliar pitching. Like the Giants would lose to elite or unfamiliar pitching. And I just think they were unfamiliar with Stidham, who caught him off guard. And Jacobs is a stud. I mean, he had a hell of a year. And Nick Bosa even said, that's the best running back I played against this year. So they got middle screened to death in that game. And how often do you get to say this out loud? So I will. The Raiders had a great game plan. They really did. And that's, as I talked about,
it's still the NFL.
What the ramifications could be there. Maybe the Raiders gave a little bit of a blueprint on how to make day longer for the 49ers defense, but I don't expect any team to come out and just operate like that against this team in the postseason. I really don't.
They picked the best time to bench Derek Carr. I never thought I'd say that, but Carr not being there helps them.
They looked inspired. I mean, the opposite of what you thought would happen happened, which happens all the time in this league. So, as we're talking with great confidence about the 49ers' chances against the Seahawks, this league is built on the fact that anything could go wrong at any time, and who the hell knows what could happen. And, I mean, Pete Carroll can coach. He really can. And Geno Smith, of all human beings in the world, is the most accurate passer in the league this year. Who would have ever thought? But I don't think he's going to have the time that he's enjoyed throughout the year, and playoff speed, I think, is going to suit the Niners well in this game.
Yeah,
the weather will be the main factor. The weather. I mean, we'll see what happens, right?
Yeah, and let's not forget that last matchup. It was a Thursday night game. It was a short week, and I think Brock Purdy hurt his ribs the game prior, so. He came in, he wasn't 100%, could have contributed to a little inaccuracy in some of his passes. I don't think that game was a true picture of how close these teams are. I don't think it's close at all. I think, it's 3 touchdowns. I mean, honestly.
These weeks are not related to each other. They're not. We like to say this narrative about how, the Niners have won 10 in a row, and every single team that they played goes on to lose the next week. That's total correlation. It's not causation. It's not. It isn't. It's a great story. Fans love to talk about stuff like that, but
coaches getting fired after.
Yeah, these games are not related. They truly aren't. So that's what makes this league so special. But I'll tell you what D'Amico's really good at is picking the perfect moment to blitz. Niners don't blitz much, but it feels like they get home on like 50% of the blitzes that they do decide to make. So
Yeah.
they just got a good thing going in their base defense. Just play it straight up and good fucking luck is, I think, the way they look at it.
You think he's basically going to be on a different team next year?
Who?
Coaching? D'Amico.
Yeah, he's an NFL head coach ready to go, especially if this team goes to the Super Bowl. He's gone, I think. I was talking about today, you know who I would bring in if I were Kyle Shanahan? If there wasn't a guy that you were looking to promote right from your own team,
Fangio.
Old coach.
I'd call Vic Fangio.
Yeah, our old coach.
Yeah.
I'd bring him in.
I'd call Vic Fangio and be like, Vic, you know, we know that you can come in, you can do the job well. We know that you like to coach a 3-4, but we run a 4-3. Chances are you'll be able to figure that out.
Yeah.
And the last thing I want is another assistant who's going to be the next head coach in waiting. Like, you can hire Vic Fangio and don't have to worry about him doing anything other than retiring. You know, he's not going to get another head coaching job. So maybe Fangio, but
And he has a small job now. I think he's an assistant for the Eagles right now.
Well, Damon, thank
Was
you
it-
so much, man.
Yeah,
I know
thanks,
that
Damon.
you've already stayed over your time allotment. I know you got to get back to your family, but we really appreciate you being on the show again. And great to see you, man. You look great.
thanks, guys. Really appreciate it. Good luck with everything in the podcast, and good luck to the Niners on Saturday. It should be a hell of a run. Enjoy it, and talk to you guys soon. Take care.
Awesome. We'll see you
Thank you,
next
Damon.
season.
Thank you, Dave.
guys.
Appreciate
Niners,
it.
everyone.
Thanks, Damon.